Rashad, we got a prayer for us?
Sure.
Okay.
Let's pray. Heavenly Father, we thank you for this day, Lord. We thank you, Father God, for your new tender mercies today, Lord. We thank you for traveling mercy, Lord. Lord, we ask that you be with us in the proceedings of this budget workshop, Father God. Let us work together, Father God, to continue to move our town forward. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right. A motion to approve the agenda. Got a motion, is there a second?
I'm sorry. You just turned it on. There we go. Test.
Test it.
Test. There we go.
Motion second. All in favor, let it know, say aye. Any opposed? All right. First thing is a review of fund balance decline in recent years as projected.
Turn your attention to should be the first thing you see on the agenda, which is your town of Chadbourn financial calculations. And it's got 4 fiscal years that you have there.
Which sheet are you on?
I'm on
Your call.
town of Chadbourn.
Okay, colorful. Okay. All right.
We'll wait till everybody's done.
Oh, I know.
Oh, yeah.
Everybody's got it.
All right, so what you have in the first 2 years there, 23, 24, 24, 25, which you had the presentation here, from here is the audited amounts that are there, which is 23, 24, 24, 25. So what the audit or gave you was at the conclusion of June 30, 24, you had a fund balance of 1,923,139. That was your total fund balance. The unrestricted, which is what I look at, as the others is restricted, is 1,400,805. Next is for this fiscal year we're in right now, and it is a projection of what your fund balance will be. In other words, what I'm saying is you've done those budget amendments that were passed on Tuesday, and those have all been keyed in. That totaled $583,492. Of that amount, approximately $400,000 was a little over $432,000 to be exact, was already in the budget as a recurring revenue that was that basically your expenses, your recurring expenses, were in excess of your recurring revenue. So we took the money out of savings, and basically what you have here is, what you're gonna hear in January is that your fund balance will be, as of June 30, 2026, 1,339,547. Could be about 10,000, 20,000 either way, all right? And then under unrestricted, it'll be 817,000. The next column is the upcoming fiscal year, the new one that you're gonna vote on. And basically, what we have is 432,132 in fund balance that would be coming out. Excuse me, that number is wrong. It's 391,735. Where did I get that number from? From the budget ordinance that you have. But the long story short, that is a projection for where you would end June 30 of 2027. If you, and it's not recommended, if you approve this budget ordinance that's been submitted. Okay, so that is basically recurring expenditures in excess of recurring revenues would be the deficit, and what you would do would be take that out of savings, and it would drop your fund balance to total less than $1 million, and unrestricted, 425,000. Now, what is the difference between restricted and unrestricted? Well, restricted is things like you've been putting money away for a fire truck. Okay, that's goes into the, it's in your fund balance, it's in your savings, but it's like, that's designated. I call it designated fund balance. Then there's undesignated, which is everything else that you could use for grant matches and stuff like that. But in that fund balance, there's some grant matches that's designated and undesignated. Now, you know, you don't want to get to a point that, forget about the 8% and all that with the LBC. I'm looking at it from a practical standpoint as to how much you have to run the budget during the course of the year. You have $2 million. This is all general fund, by the way. The utility fund is fine. Fund balance wise, revenues, expenditures, recurring, it's pretty much in balance. But let's focus this budget work session on the general fund. Let me stop there. Do you have any questions? You understand what's going on here? Okay, basically, without doing anything further heading into the next year, that 400,000 round figures needs to come down. Otherwise, we're gonna, if you approve this thing, which is not recommended, if you approve it as put together, you know. Now, what does this budget ordinance, let's move, if you don't have any questions there, what does the budget ordinance, that's next, let's take a look at that.
Number 2.
The budget ordinance would be, you know, we given this on Tuesday, the first draft, and I sent this to you as well. And then we'll go over the line items. So basically, with the budget ordinance, this does not include any vacation buyback or comp time stuff or anything like that. This doesn't include any raises. This is basically, you know, fund existing folk with benefits, et cetera. We'll go through each of the line items as well. So that's where this is. Any questions on the budget ordinance? And now we'll go, if you'd like, onto the, and you know, sure there'll be questions about what's in, what's out on the budget worksheet, which is the multi-purpose, the multi-page budget worksheet with all the account numbers. I'll wait till everybody's ready. Okay, revenues, first go to revenues, which is your 10, 30, 10. Property taxes, calculated the property taxes, no growth in tax base, with the property tax rate at 62 cents, 92% collection rate, and the number that turns out, and that'll be in the budget ordinance, is 459,800. That's, you know, straightforward multiplication and math. And everything else, run through each of these line items. The revenues are, you know, pretty much what's happening in the adopted budget. If you go to the, I guess what is the third page, if you go to the bottom line of the third page, you can see your audited numbers, and you see in pink there, like the revenues in fiscal year 24-25, the actual revenues were 1,890,342. Now, what does that not show? Okay, well, it doesn't show that, and we'll get to the end of this, that there was a deficit. That's why you don't see any fund balance there. Okay, that if you go a few pages out, you'll see that was 200 to 300,000 that was taken out to balance the budget. The budget has to be in balance each and every day. The next column is what you adopted. What you adopted way back when, a year ago. And that was 2,171,407.08. And then we come to the third column, which is the amended budget, what you just amended on Tuesday. And all those numbers have been keyed in now, and this is tied back into the computer. It's in balance. $2,377,193. So basically, if you look at that, 2,377 versus 2,171, you basically did another budget ordinance amendment, or budget ordinance amendment of $200,000. The next up is what you've presented in the budget ordinance, that again is not recommended for adoption, 2,093,060 are the revenues. So the revenues that I'm projecting, this is with 391,000 in fund balance, as opposed to 432,000 in fund balance, or 583,000 in fund balance. This is the number that you have there in the general fund, 2,093,000, which is, slightly, obviously less than 2,171,000, but still a problem, Any questions in that?
I just think we're gonna have to do a lot of cutting, a lot of cutback, a lot of spending cutback in order to try and balance. Hopefully not raise taxes, but.
Well, let's get into that as well. All right, and we'll go down each and every line item that you like. Elected officials, 4,100,0100, 21,000 existing salaries. Even though I'm only here a couple short time, I did not make the thing that I did in the past with cutting county commissioner salaries. Because you're not the county commissioner, but anyway, that's a long time ago. All right, but it's 21,000 at existing salary. Professional services, you want to know what's in that number? That includes 10,000 for budget for legal services for your town attorney. Municipal services, a monthly service, Microsoft contract for your computers. That was 5,460. And economic development, the McAdams and Associates Economic Development retainer contract. That was a contract that was executed for $1,000 a month, and there's 3 months remaining on that, July, August, September. So those 3 months, at $1,000 a month are covered. Nothing beyond that is covered. Okay. Any questions on that facet of the budget? Now, that's professional services. So, okay. Next up is on the list in travel, officials travel. What I did there, if you read along, the audited number was 11,283.50, then 22,000. Excuse me, that was what we budgeted in this fiscal year. And so what I did was, again, looking for dollars, I made it basically $2,500 per person. That's what I did.
For me personally, I would like to see that go down to $1,500 per person, and other people can use that person's funds.
Okay. Why don't we make suggestions? Why don't you keep a record of what suggestions folks have for reducing the budget or increasing revenue? How about we do that? So that's one suggestion, is make it 1,500 apiece.
That's just his recommendation.
That's his recommendation. Look, I'm gonna put these things up for you to, with dollar signs by, so you can vote on it.
That's fine, but, when you, and Mr. Mayor, we can just free talk.
Yes.
Okay.
As long as we take turns.
I mean, honestly, to Councilman Clewis, I don't know what his personal attack is on it. This is something for everybody. Just let me finish. This is something for everybody, but I hear you when you say you don't want this and you don't want that, but from out of $432,000, I want to know what substantial, because I know there's something substantial that's causing, that created such a deficit, right? And $1,500, $7,500 out of a $2 million budget is less than whatever 1% or whatever. So you shaving that amount, which I don't, you vote to do whatever you want to do, but if it's something that's truly gonna help, yeah, but $1,500 a person, and you ain't planning to go nowhere, it don't seem that way, but at the same time, it would behoove all of us to try to go something, to learn something, and so don't make it personal, where, just because myself or the mayor attends certain things. I want my mayor to be as professional and polished as possible whenever he's representing us as a board and as a town. And if that's gonna hinder him from going, I'm against that as well. So, but like I said, that's your recommendation, and my recommendation would be, you already have substantially cut it from 22,000 from the previous 2 years down to 15,000. You've already cut it $7,000. I think that's more, and I'm pretty sure if you look at what we've used year to date, 15,000 is still more than what we've used year to date, and we're in the last month coming up in June, if I'm not mistaken. So with that being said, I mean, you've already cut, well, I don't even know the numbers, a third, from 22 down to 15, that's $7,000. So that's right at about 33% reduction. I would like to see if we're gonna reduce all the other line items by at least 33%.
We gotta do something.
Well, I understand that, but the point that I'm trying to make
I understand, we gotta.
when you
start.
have $400,000, $7,500 is, I hate to say a drop in the bucket, but it's a drop in the bucket when you compare $7,500 and you're looking at nothing a third. They've already proposed a third of a cut just from this one particular line item. If we're not gonna cut a third from all of the other line items, and I think we need to go back and take a look at that. So that's just my point.
I'm gonna
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
First off, it's not personal. There's not one thing about this whole job personal for me. What's personal is thinking that we're $400-some thousand over budget this year, and we might have to go up on taxes to survive
But-
this next year. And if we take $400-some thousand out next year, we'll be below the state minimum standard. That's personal to me. That's personal to every taxpayer in this town.
Let me kind of, all right, let's kind of go through the general answer to your question, Mr. Roberts. What's happened is a kind of a cumulative thing, right or wrong, okay? I'm not personally, but dollar wise, what's happened is that the councils have approved budgets where it was 200,000, now 400,000 in recurring expenses, and did not balance it off against the revenues. Okay, that really, and listen, let me say this, it wasn't travel, okay, and it wasn't the electricity, okay, basically it went into salaries, okay, it went rightfully so into raising salaries for levels that were, so that we don't have, again, I'm looking at it, what happened over the last several years was to get folks at salaries that were comparable to small towns elsewhere, all right? Now, I'll just say this, because salaries are low, there's limits to what you can pay for a small town. So you had budgeted in there, 91, I tell from the manager's standpoint, so we're not talking at any one person. But you had, that position paid, you were paying your manager $91,000 plus benefits. Okay, now we got to advertise at 75 to 85. Okay, that's what's in that $400,000. Because then all travels more. You pay somebody $90,000, you know this, that plus the benefits. I mean, we're looking at health insurance benefits, the quotes come in at 17% above what we have, because of whatever. And right now, the state's making us pay more on locals too, with the local retirement. So my thing is, broadly, most of the money here that was in that 400,000 is within that amount that was justifiably because the board voted on it. But again, when I say if you want to do something, you gotta pay sooner or later. sooner or later it's gotta be paid. And if you say, if you say that the manager's overpaid, I use myself as an example, then, say it, okay? But, yeah, that's what we gotta deal with.
Mr. Mayor, comments from the gallery or not?
No, sir. Not the way the meeting set up tonight. We will be on public hearing or something like that. We can do it, but this was a continuation of the other meetings. We have to go by the same rules as a regular meeting.
Okay. Okay, are there any other questions with respect to the governing body's budget line items? Anything you want additional explanation about? I gave you two things breakout was professional services as well as travel officials. The others pretty much track, and you can see your bottom line on governing body, while the audit amount.
I got a question.
Yes, sir.
Did you get rid of something from dues and subscriptions? I noticed the amount is half of them.
Yeah, that was, I think we looked at what we had budgeted, right, in terms of spending,
Okay.
and that was what, that includes, I think, the league dues and others. I don't think we cut it, it's more like an honest projection, that's why we increased insurance and bonds. Because that's gonna be it.
Okay.
Okay. Next up is administration. Now, what you have under salaries and wages, and why it went from 210 and adopted to 190, and also it was basically because we budgeted the new manager at 80,000. We split the difference between 75 to 85, which you got in there, and we budgeted at 80 as opposed to 91,000, all right? And that correspondingly changed some of the, the FICA went down, group insurance, group insurance is anomaly because it went up the 16% or so. Then we're talking about, and retirement basically stayed the same. But now we'll go to professional services under administration, which is one of the other areas. What does that include? The 31,400 again includes 5,460 for the Microsoft licenses. We break up that. We went through every one of these licenses, the number of computers and everything. So that was 5,460 for the year. IT services that we have, temporary part-time provision of those is 19,500. And then we had professional services, what I call the accounting services, that Ms. Johnson, Wendy has been providing 6,375. So rounded it to a total of 31,335, but we rounded it to 31,400 for those professional services. That's it. Those three things.
Is there anywhere in that we can cut any out of that?
Well, I mean, my thing is, and I've talked to Ms. Johnson about it, she's, basically doing training for folks, to, what is she doing? She's training folks to put the numbers into the right slots, okay? So that, the journal entries and stuff. So, I'm hopeful that, actually, July 1, that doesn't have to occur, that we've got people trained, we've got, between now and then, 6 weeks, between now and June 30. So, and I asked her, when I'm here Monday, I was like, how's it going? We need to kind of,
If she was gone, then how would that affect that 31,400? If she was not here after July 1, how would that affect that
6,300? Again, it adds up, $6,375.
Okay, so that would save that.
Yes, yeah, and, obviously, the part-time, services, that's $15 an hour for IT, on-site, services, and also, covering with locations out there. That $19,500, $15 an hour for, I guess, 500 hours or something like that, that's a small amount. But that isn't another area that could be looked at. So, I mean, if we're looking for every area, those are two that potentially could be there. So that's, and because those are recurring expenses. All right, next up, any other questions on, let's, go down the list. We feared we've got pretty much, the line items. If we go down to the bottom, the audit report, that's 14,000. So insurance and bonds, we went through each of these line items trying to scrape stuff. Tax expense is what comes from the tax office, lease of equipment, that's on our, copier leases. I think we gave all the contracts. Yeah, all right. A lot of this is, I put a whole list of contracts together. They wrote in all the little different budgets and stuff like that. There's like municipal, some of these contracts are what I call, mandatory, and some are not so mandatory. So, obviously solid waste contract, that's mandatory. And, and some of them are, like, you'll see there the accounting services with Ms. Wendy, 6375, that's a not so mandatory. Southern software is a mandatory. So, all of these are out there, but, try to stay in order here. I'll go down. Are there any other questions on administration?
Do you want the report?
Yes, sir.
Is it, how much difference is it gonna be, between what's being proposed? How much you say come in, usually comes in at?
Well, I think we got a budget of 14,000, right? Well,
Yes.
That's it, yeah.
I was looking at,
That's the number that he gave us.
last year's,
16,500, but we split it between departments.
oh, okay.
But then it leaves room for if there's an adjustment, sometimes he has to do an amendment to
No.
one of our audits if there's a finding. And, so we'll take care of that. So it gives us that room.
Did you go $4,000 from 2 years ago?
No, it was the same, but we had to do another report because it was required now by the state, so it had to be amended, and that was $2,000 on top.
Yeah, one of the things that, Chadbourn's gotten so much federal money that there's a special requirement that we have, a special audit requirement that if you get over $1 million in federal money, that there's a special audit requirement.
Special single one.
Yeah, single audit, and a lot of times they'll gather to do that, but here's one that does.
Looks like you were able to cut on like 29,000 from administration from the previous, it looks like from the 420 to 391.
Well, yeah, because of mainly the salary for the manager.
Okay. So that's 10,000 from governing body. Okay. All right.
Yeah, I mean,
I was just trying to keep a running tally in my head of what we're, how close are we getting to that finish line of getting some of this stuff going back.
all right, I moved to Civic Center is the same number, 8,000. We didn't change the thing there. Buildings and grounds, basically, didn't change much here either. Yes, it went up, of course, we had the downtown, if you look at the, if you go to the, I guess it's now the 5th page, we should number these, I'm sorry, I apologize, but, if we go to the 5th page, this is kind of a little crazy one because, building and grounds had a downtown master plan added to it, but then you had corresponding revenues come in on that, so that was, it didn't affect fund balance, so So basically, buildings and grounds, if you look at the bottom line adopted, it's 29.1, and the bottom line, submitted budget is 28.1. So we really didn't change much there. The buildings and grounds. If we do get grant monies in, then we put it there or put it out, so that you see it right there. But it'd be revenues in, revenues out, that's not affecting fund balance. Let's go to police department. Now, what's in, what's out of police department? What is not in, this funds police department at all the positions, but, if you look down at 10, 400, professional services, contract labor, that amount, we're basically cutting out well, it's, let me see. Anyway. This fully funds the police department, but cuts out the animal control. Okay, there's no more part-time position for animal control. We're basically saying to the county, you handle animal control, we pay for that. So that's it. And so, you want to refer complaints that they have an animal control to shelter, right?
Yes.
I mean, okay, so that's where that has been reviewed with the chief. Yes,
What led to, was taking on the animal control?
They thought that we would get a better service by having our own rather than having like 5 animal control cover the 954 square miles. They thought if we had our own part-time, is what they said about when we took it on. They said that they felt like we would get more service. But I think we've got the exact same problems we had before. So I think they decided it was better since that's the county's thing to do, to let the county pay for it. Because we're already paying it in our taxes to get them to do it.
So that's, is that one of them, traps and all that kind of stuff?
Yes,
Purchase?
yes. And Ken had made the comment that he just didn't see us continuing it. So, to let the county, county's supposed to be doing it, does it involve other towns, pretty much let them do it first.
so, this budget, for police, now, what this does include would be, a patrol car, but it would be funded through USDA. That was one of the things you asked me to work on, was funding that. That's over towards the end, which would be 10, I put in there just as a figure, 10,000 a year for the, if you go to 10, 5,100, 8,500, that line item. It's an estimate for a new patrol car for, another 10,000 a year. So, but at the bottom line on the police and on this budget is, 970,600 versus what was adopted, which was 1,047,550, which was, the 970,600 is slightly more than the 964,670, which is in the ordinary number, which was a 2 fiscal years ago.
I have something.
Yes, sir. Yes.
Rashad, you-
Go ahead.
Yeah, I have a couple of questions. I see that the Christmas bonus line item here, but I didn't see that in the administration line item. Why is there not the Christmas bonus in the administration line item? Did I miss that?
There is one.
There was
it in
one.
there?
Yeah.
Yes, 10,42,0900.
Okay, all right, that's fine. I was just trying to make sure that everybody was equal across that. And, the police car, I mean, we bought 1 to 2 police cars every year. And I've been, a lot of the time, someone making the motion to do that. But truthfully, I think this year, with our deficit so drastic as it is, we need to cut that a new police car out this year. That's just my feeling on that.
But I just had a question. Was that a typo? Because I heard you say 10,000. That's in 20,000.
Yes, sir, but we were, the reason, sir, I'm sorry. The reason is that the existing debt service on the ones was, so I added 10,000.
Oh, okay.
That would be the new number if you buy another car and we get the USDA money.
Can we just have some insurance or something
That
with some
paid
break and it paid for it, and we got
Yeah.
insurance?
that was all handled in this fiscal year.
Okay. So, but did that replace the car? Did not,
That just replaced the car that was totaled,
so we did replace that car?
yes.
Okay. All right. So are we short in the bid?
This is on the rotation schedule that the chief has.
The rotation schedule that we've had in the past has been one car one year, two cars next year, back and forth. That's what they were trying to do, what we've done in the past. I'm not saying it's what we gotta do now, I'm just saying that's what they've been doing for the last 5, 6 years or whatever. I don't know how long, but that's what they were trying to do. What we had done in the budget has been on one year we bought one, on the next year we bought two, is what we've done in the past.
Well, we just, as with this $400,000 deficit, we gotta find some severe cuts somewhere. I mean, I just can't go out there and we would have to raise taxes.
So that's the difference on that one, 76,950.08.
Well, basically $10,000.
Well, no, what I'm saying from the 10,047 to the 976, the 76,950.08, difference between those two numbers. 1,047 we're seeing from back
I see,
from this
from
year,
adopted, yeah, from
From
adopted.
adopted or projected, that will cut 76,950 out of that. Between those two numbers. I'm just showing, talking about between.
Do not think of it like that, just look at it, that with the budget ordinance that you have before you. Just look at the 970,600. It might be less than what you adopted before, but
But no, what I'm saying is we're at least going down and not going up, trying to spend even more than what we already realized was too much. Yeah, that's what I'm saying, we're not trying to go up even more.
well, yes, sir, that's why the budget that you got before you is 391,000
Yeah.
in fund balance out versus 432,000.
That's what I'm saying, just sit there and figure out how you got your numbers. So I'm looking back to that, trying to figure out how you got your difference in your numbers there. So that's what I was trying to do, is just keep up as we're going through how the numbers got changed.
I got one question.
Okay.
The capital outlay that, I noticed it's been running for the last 2 or 3 years. What is that in particular?
That's your police.
That's the cars?
Yes, sir, yes, sir.
All right, I just want to make sure. So we don't, so as what you put out there, that 65,000 not being in that line item, that eliminates the purchase of any, no?
No,
Or is it paid off?
instead of putting 65,000,
Yeah.
went over this, said, went over this, you wanna buy a car? All right, we either pay for it with 65,000, or we try to finance it over 5 years.
Okay.
And that was.
So that you eliminated the bulk purchase of just paying for it out front versus finance.
Postponing, kicking the road, basically kicking the can down the road, yeah.
And that's what I was talking about, that money, that's in that 76 I was talking about, us financing and not pulling all that money.
I just saw that there wasn't any money in that line item. And that's what it's-
Yes, sir, that's fine.
That's what I was talking about there, was part of that.
Okay, and you'll notice also this Lexipol contract. Well, we'll go over the contracts. I'll go over them one by one, so that you're clear on the contract. All right, next up is zoning and planning. And you'll notice this is one, this doesn't have any salaries and wages, doesn't have any salary overtime, but just professional services. And, the professional services, 51,000. This is basically the code enforcement and the zoning administration, minimum housing enforcement, the weed control, and, when people come in for a zoning permit. So all of this, that we budgeted was 51,000. 42,000 is, all professional services, all by contract with municipal services. And you've got, we go to the contracts now, which I think is an area that, you have to look seriously at. Where you're paying for nuisance abatement, minimum housing enforcement, $70 an hour for the person that's here once a week for 52 weeks, 8 hours supposedly, and $60 per hour travel time. So that, my best estimate on that is $37,000. Then there's municipal services for the planning services for $75 an hour. Okay, you see, I don't even know, trying to find out how much that was in the time that I've been here. Anyways, it's $75 an hour when we take a zoning permit in, okay? And the clerk takes it in, and PDFs it, sends it to this gentleman and the contractor, and he looks at it, says, is it okay, or what? And then he sends it back, and he turns it down, we send that on to the person. We don't get any money for that, by the way. That's what I found out. We don't charge the person until, we only charge people if it's approved. And so you can come in for a zoning. Yep, we only charge them if it's approved. You didn't know that, that's fine. Okay, but what I'm proposing is, that don't be doing this anymore. Okay, I would say the code enforcement, I think we need to kind of pull it in-house. Okay, I don't know if we can save all $37,000. I think for zoning and stuff like that, I'll tell you right now, we've got the permanent person out front, okay, that's handling a lot of this stuff. I mean, somebody comes in with a storage building, basically you have to apply everything that you've approved, okay? And as for the nuisance abatement and things like that, I mean, the town manager can be doing it. I mean, it's not, or we, have somebody part-time that lives in town maybe doing it, okay? That would be my suggestion, all right? At lower than $70 an hour and lower than $60 a cap. I mean, I would rather hire somebody part-time here as again, making this recommendation as an interim, okay? Not as a, but as a manager to tell you to save $1. Basically we're looking at, minimum housing. I mean, I would go around with any one of you. And this is what I did in another town. You go around and say, this house needs, if it's got a tree growing out of it, okay, it doesn't meet the minimum housing requirements. And not saying, if somebody's living in it, that's it, leave it alone. I mean, I'm sorry, but, people have to live somewhere. I mean, but we're not putting somebody out of their house. But, we're gonna use common sense to do what needs to be done. When you go around town and you say, John owns that house, I don't care. I mean, trees growing out of it, the rats are coming out of it, that's what needs to come down. And you take it one step at a time legally, that's what you got a manager for. Or a part-time person. The same thing with cutting grass. I mean, you don't, if I don't have my grass cut, I put the door hanger on there, you got 10 days to get it cut. You don't get it cut in 10 days, and I'll send a letter out at the same time. Okay, if you don't get it cut in 10 days, you have a contractor go out there, and you get billed for the cutting the grass, $100 or whatever it is to cut it, and that goes on as lien on your taxes. That's it. And you can kind of move on. You try it. Those are the ways to do it, as opposed to paying what you're doing now and getting complaints. But you don't have to pay my suggestion. You can go in another direction. Whatever you want to do.
Go ahead, man.
I think when people pay a zoning fee, that fee should be whether they get it or not. Period. Because it takes just as much time to approve it as it does to disapprove.
Well, that's my point. Is that $75 an hour to turn it down.
Crazy not to. And then these other things that you're talking about, you're absolutely right. I mean, those are areas that we can cut to do that and put some more responsibility on the manager, on a part-time person or someone else versus the $30,000-$40,000 we all pay.
Well, you can say to the manager.
I just want to say, I don't disagree, but the way we got to the point of needing the code enforcement officer was because we were handling it in-house. And it became too much for whoever was here. I'm not calling names. It was the former administration that was here. Said, I can't do all of that. Police was a part of it. You know, police, if Mr. Mayor can refresh my memory, police was a part of it. Stephen, if y'all guys saw something that was to be brought up or whatever, and then what happens is the citizens start saying, you're letting the town run down. And so then they're gonna look at us and say, well, why'd you get rid of? And I'm not saying, I agree with you in a perfect world, but it's gonna put more on you in the interim, Ramona, and every other person. I don't have a problem with that, but it's you guys would have to deal with that in the sense of when you eliminate it. The other thing is, I remember, I think it was like $500. And for whatever reason, that number is coming to my mind for planning and zoning, that fee, whatever that fee was. And it used to be where you paid it and regardless of approval or disapproval.
Well, this is current.
I understand it. Yeah, but we're talking about what we're doing current day, how we got to current day, and then you start going back and you regress and start going back to why we got to where we are current day. You understand what I'm saying?
Yes.
So just let me finish, and then I'll give it back to you. The point that I'm trying to make is, I don't have a problem with doing what you guys are suggesting, but just know when it starts falling off, because there was a long time when we didn't even have planning and zoning meetings. And then what do when you don't have anybody to do planning and zoning that don't know what they're doing with planning and zoning? And then you got people who are waiting. I'm waiting to bring in my home. I'm waiting to get this permit. I'm waiting to do whatever. And you keep pushing back. We ain't had a planning and zoning meeting. But that happened. I remember that somebody was waiting to get a mobile home or pull something in, and it went months before, and to the point where it caused a problem for the person that was trying to bring the home in. And it was because we had some staff or somebody that wasn't familiar, didn't know it, no fault of their own, but they just weren't familiar with knowing how to do that, you know? And so now this person is paid X amount of dollars, and they're like, hey, what's going on? And then the iPhone is blowing up. Hey, I can't get my house. I'm trying to get the house. So just think about that too when we're considering, when you're just saying nixing. So we need to have some type of plan of what you're gonna do and who's gonna do it. Because if not, I don't know if they call you, but they was calling me. You know, so.
My only thing on that is we're gonna let the town manager appoint somebody to do it. And then, I mean, hold them responsible. They're getting paid money by the town, good money, hold them responsible.
But when you're appointing them, are they not doing a job already?
I'm not saying they're not.
You got what I'm saying?
But the
We
bill
have
has got
somebody
to be
sitting
higher.
around.
We've got to make some uncomfortable
To be anybody
changes.
sitting around that this ain't working.
I'm not accusing nobody of nothing. I'm not.
I'm
I'm just saying, we got a lot of belt tightening and it's gonna hurt everybody.
Well, that's fine. If you got somebody that's sitting around and ain't doing nothing, then obviously they'll give them that job to do it. But anyway.
I think a way forward is, you're gonna hire the town manager. So maybe hire somebody and say to that person that maybe he's a planner someplace that wants to be a town manager. And maybe not have a strengths in finance, but has strengths in planning and zoning and code enforcement. So you can hire somebody and say, we want you to do code enforcement and managing the town and writing grants and doing everything else. But, one of your specific areas that you might be looking for as town councilman might be saying, hey, I want you to be a planning person. So, I would just suggest, like anything, I don't think we could save all 37,000 on this contract. But I think, a portion of it could be saved. And again, when you're looking at candidates, you might say, what's your experience in planning and zoning as a way forward? I'm not saying, right now, sir, that everybody else has got their existing jobs and not just to put it on somebody. But I do think we have in-house, I do think we do have a planning technician that if somebody comes in with a zoning application, since, I will definitely train that person, look at the zoning ordinance. This is what you can do when somebody comes in with it, says, wants to put a modular home in downtown, okay? I don't have to pay somebody $75 to tell them, sorry, that's not gonna happen.
I think, we went down the road, we went down because it was being very poorly handled all the way around, and we were looking for a way to fix it at the time. And I guess we gotta look now and see, can't we just get somebody around here? Because I think the person that was doing it was not as familiar. We had some people doing it that weren't very familiar with it. And I think we're gonna have to train somebody, or hire somebody that knows. Because there was a lot of stuff, like, I could see what both of them were saying. There was a lot of stuff that wasn't getting handled. And it was citizens were up there having a fit because they wanted to move into the town and they couldn't get it done in a timely fashion. And then when we had complaints and they came up, we had people that weren't familiar enough with it to know how to mitigate the complaint, how to read the zoning, and they did not understand the zoning, and they couldn't read what the abbreviations stood for, and they didn't understand what they were. So I think that's why we jumped out and spent a whole lot of money right there trying to figure out how to get this done. So I think what'll bring Danny's and Rashad's thing together here is, let's get somebody cheaper and make sure they know what they're doing, and we're gonna have to hold them to a standard. They're gonna have to get it done. That way I don't think paying $75 an hour is a way to fix somebody not getting it done or not having the training. I think we can do it cheaper than that and get somebody educated on how to do it. And it sounds like you're well versed in it, so maybe that's something you could help us with. And then, once we get a manager, if you want to, we'll set the attorney volunteer. Hey man, I'm trying, okay? I'm trying.
But if we could turn to the contracts,
Okay.
That is titled, Chadbourn contracts. And, I'll walk down the list that, what's budgeted and what's not. And what's, you have the zoning map, below the economic development, so let's get ready about the year contract. That's the 3,000 remaining. That's all that's budgeted. The municipal services zoning map update, that's already paid for, and that's gonna run into next fiscal year. I already got an email into municipal services, their president asked them, see, they thought that this was gonna be completed by June 30, but because of the public hearing dates, that's not gonna happen. The planning board's gonna take up the amendments, but then you're gonna have to take up the amendments, and I gotta advertise for that. So it's gonna run into July and August for the final approval by the town council. Municipal services agreement, the code agreement, I think we can drop that and we can put all the code stuff up and put it on our website and not be paying them to, again, for a small town to be, I think there's so much that we can do, in talking with municipal services, their personnel, something, they might pass something in Raleigh. Well, okay. We're not, if there's a developer comes in, I'm gonna work with them to get stuff built, all right? We gotta encourage tax-based growth as opposed to the regulations. But I spoke to you already about the planning services, that's $75 an hour. I spoke to you already about municipal services uses agreement. Lexipol is the police department, and DCI, those are police department contracts. I've already talked to the chief about those, and basically we can put those also on our website, and we're not budgeting anything for those. I mean, those are one-time things, and, we'll keep up the stuff on that. Municipal services, that's computer software, the securities that we need, the patches that we need, that's kind of a mandatory one. We really can't cut back on that. Although, if people are not using the computers, or we're gonna get rid of the maintenance charges, those are like $4.50 each. So, if you're not using the computer, that's gonna get cut out. upgrading the ordinance, that was a one-time thing, the Unified Development Ordinance. So now that it's upgraded from 2022, okay, now it'll be up for enforcement. Pay for council governments, the personnel policy review, that was a one-time thing. Ghost Coast Entertainment, fireworks, that's $2,500, each, that was the contract. The next fiscal year is $2,500, and we budgeted that. IT services, that I've ready, the $19,500, I mentioned that to you. Town manager services, you can see nothing is budgeted the next year. Without that for me, it's for, this fiscal year. Solid waste contract, that includes their, little less than 5% increase from one year to the next. That's the 280, that really came from the copy of pro, copy of contract, 6750, that's a lease arrangement, that can't go anywhere. Southern software, 5,000, that's a one-time thing, that can't go anywhere. Accounting services, we talked about that, cutting that. I think for the plumbing contract, the ORC, that can't go anywhere. So, it's already been reduced from one year to the next. Can it get reduced further? Yes. I mean, there's still, I won't say there's $400,000 here, but, there's something that we could, reduce here as well. But, that's where we're at, in terms of that. So, next up, if there's no questions there, or if you have a question, we can always come back. Fire department. All right, now, what you have there, the fire department, 85,500, 85,500, 85,500. Okay. That includes 50,000 that you've been putting away for the new fire truck. The fire truck is going to cost 690,000. I think we got 300 to 350,000, right, in the bank under fund balance. Now, of course, I'm working on the UDA loan.
Yes, yeah.
USDA. All right. But anyways, yeah, working on that, and certainly we can get the loan. The loan amount would be around figures about 50,000 a year for 20 some odd years. Okay. So, is that something? We got the alternatives are you could take the 300,000 or 350,000 out of fund balance. Okay. Go ahead.
It wasn't in a CD, or was it in something that's high? When you say in fund balance, so, okay, when I'm hearing fund balance,
But it's restricted. It's restricted.
go ahead, you're fine.
No, but I'm just saying, you can take that savings and apply it to the 690, and that would drop the debt service. That's an alternative. Of course, that would be, what we have budgeted is not that. Okay. So that's a choice for you to make.
Yeah,
It's still the same.
so will we be better to pay the restriction, pay the 300 on that, and just go on from the USDA
For the bond.
300 and some odd
For the
dollars? Or would we be better to finance at all? I'm just looking, where will we be best to reduce this money we're spending out every year?
Well, you're just gonna put yourself in a 20-year,
You put-
You're gonna have a 20-year loan for basically $1 million.
My problem is,
We'd rather than $1 million payoff.
that 50,000 is in that, the 50,000 is in 391,000 right now.
So if you pay the 300,000 in the 20 year, you only pay 500 some thousand back versus $1 million.
Which would be a $25,000 possible,
Correct.
roughly.
You would drop this to 25,000.
I just think that's all.
And that could be a better option.
My thing is right now,
But my question, this is the truck gonna be finished before what was projected? Because we've been told it was gonna be a couple of years or so.
the chief says to me, August.
August, like 2 months August, like 3 months August?
Yes, that's what he's giving me, sir.
Somebody started working faster? I mean,
That's been several years. that they've-
Has it? How long has it been?
Yes.
oh, yeah.
Yeah, he said it's been in order for several years.
Yeah.
When they
Like
went to
3
the
years.
survey,
Maybe I'm just getting older, and I just felt like that was like 2 years ago. Okay.
Well, me personally, I'd rather pay the 300,000 than have.
Oh, cool.
That would cut back, 200,000 in interest that we would pay in a 20-year loan. If we paid the restricted 300,000 and then just financed the balance, which would basically cut that in half. Me, but whatever everybody else.
With that, again, that would take your fund balance down. All other things being equal, you're basically paying 300,000 out of your fund balance to save 25,000.
I agree, we pay now or pay later, and I'm looking at the last few years, we've been in the red from 200,000 to 400,000 every year. So it's time to try and rethink our strategy here and not make much as no more long-term debt that we can help. I mean, we're just in a terrible bad situation, and I know that neither one of them are good answers.
Well, if you run the numbers again, it's saying,
What does everybody else think of that? I'm just asking. You'd rather finance the whole thing and look at a 20-year 50,000 or maybe 300,000, finance the balance and look at maybe roughly 25,000 and truthfully in the 20-year span, we save $200,000. Because we financed the whole thing, 600 and some thousand, 20 times 50 is $1 million in that span that we're looking at, 20,000 times, 50,000 times 20 years.
Have you got interest rates and all that for us? Where we
it's less than 5% at this point. I mean, it's not like it used to be 2%, okay? It's not a great time to be borrowing money with you, USDA.
Can you get some pretty close numbers for us?
Well,
And come back to us with that on, actual dollars, so we look at.
Sure.
Yeah, that might be a little better than us
I'm
sitting up here.
I'm fine with that.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just saying, because we're trying to guess at it, and that way it'd be easier for us to make a decision if we say,
It's gonna be around 25,000 a year.
Okay,
savings,
25,000.
If you do half the truck, yeah, I mean,
okay,
in talking with USDA, they calculated, I rounded it to 50,000 for, made it in 51,350, but, yeah, I rounded it. So,
okay, that's what I was asking, if we had, pretty set numbers.
Pretty set,
Okay.
but,
Okay.
So, but I keep hearing you say you drop the fund balance. So the projected fund balance on the front page is 947, right?
the projected fund balance,
On this paper right here. Yeah,
whatever that is,
yeah. At first you said it was 432, 132 in the red, and then because of the
that was,
budget amendment that we did, it's now at 391, 735. But now if you take, and you said that's restricted fund balance, but it's still fund balance.
no. The total fund balance is 947,812.
That's what I said.
Yes, that's
Yes.
total.
So, I'm looking
That
at,
is not restricted, that is total.
that's total, yeah. So where I was getting to was, if you're talking about taking out, how much you say it was roughly 350,000? 300 some thousand?
You live by the truck is six,
No, not the truck cost. What we have in restricted fund balance for the truck that we put away.
300,000, 350,000.
350,000.
350,000.
Just say 350. You're gonna add 350 plus that 391, so 741,000. So now you're gonna drop the projected fund balance below $600,000. Is that, am I figuring that right?
Correct.
Yeah,
For the general.
from the general fund.
For the general. And, basically we got, from a cash standpoint, honestly, you still got your, the money in the bank from the utility fund, which,
No, we can't do that.
I'm just
That
telling
we-
you from a cash standpoint.
We got out of that problem
but
probably about 15 years ago, subsidizing the water and sewer. That's how we got in trouble before. We can't do that no more. So,
That's, I agree, but I'm just saying.
yeah.
You just,
But I'm throwing it out there, so Danny,
Well, I'm good either way, I just wanted what's best for the town. I tell you, I'm good either way.
no, but I guess the point that I'm trying to make is, are you okay with financing the entire the entire
I am.
amount?
I am.
Yeah, so that you don't deplete the fund balance, because you can, over time, refinance, when pray to God, interest rates drop, you might pay a little bit more the first year or two, couple of years, but then you can come back and refinance. And then, God forbid, we get an influx of people and we pay it off early or something. I'm talking 10, 15 years away from now, or 5 or 10 years away from now. But I know we've done that in the past, that, we finance a total amount. But I just don't want to deplete the fund balance down to below to that number. That's all.
And the state kind of looks at that negatively and it affects your interest rates and everything else when we go to borrow money.
So, but yeah, I'm cool.
I'm good either way, I just would like to see the numbers.
Oh, that's fine too. Yeah.
That's Johnny, I think you make good points. Yeah, I mean,
Yeah, I'd like to see those numbers, that's just,
Yeah, so we ain't, like you say, throwing stuff in the wind.
yeah, let's not throw it at the wall and see what sticks,
Yeah.
let's get some actual numbers. I mean, that's a lot of money to,
sure, we get to the.
Just handle it.
I think we need to be educated on it before we know exactly where we're at. Okay,
So can you take that 50 out of that? Or you gonna leave that projected amount in there for capital outlay for property, 50,000 projected? Only thing, here, you gonna leave that there like that?
All right, from a budgeting standpoint, if I'm gonna budget, if I gotta add, I can take the 50 out. All right,
No, you gotta put it back because you're gonna have a bill.
well, I'm gonna put in the difference.
No, yeah, sure.
Okay, and then on the capital outlay, you're gonna see 350 there, and then you're gonna see another 350 out of fund balance.
I got you.
Okay?
Okay.
So that I'm taking, that's what I said, I'll take 50 out, I can put 350 back in,
No.
but then I go, you see, that's what,
If you could just go back with the 20 years, the full amount.
or,
we can
I
see.
mean, excuse me, yeah.
Cause that is still may end up being a $50,000 debt payment.
No, it'll be, or you'll have, you'll have $25,000 debt payment. Basically, to get you put that in, you have a $25,000 debt payment. But the other thing is, if it drops the fund balance again, continue to drop the fund balance, that's why interest earnings also.
Yeah.
Right,
So
so
we're not,
I think the best thing would be, all right, you already dropped it, maybe you dropped it, the police car, that's 10,000. So, maybe we do something with the contracts here, that might be another 20 to 25,000.
I mean, I think the other thing is, and we haven't gotten that far yet or whatever, but the policy that is in place about the buyback. I mean, if you look at this paperwork, and I'm not calling no one particular person out.
But that's not even budgeted. That's not in.
I know that's not budgeted, but it comes as budget amendment. You know what I mean?
No, that's what I'm saying, that can't be anymore.
So that's something that has to be addressed. I mean, we can't just sit back because
No,
if in 3 years, you have zero money left in the bank. If you keep it up at this, if you're spending $125,000 a year just in compensation time or vacation buyback time, and those budget amendments that we just voted on, you're gonna do that every 6 months.
That's 140.
Well, I wouldn't be inaccurate, but the point that I'm trying to make you're gonna deplete the fund balance in about 3 or 4 years. You won't have no money left. So
Exclusive of that, you're gonna deplete it. That's what I'm saying.
just with that, you would have,
Exclusive of that.
yes.
So, that's not, I'm gonna bring that to your, first meeting in June, saying to discontinue that policy. So I'm sorry.
And rightfully so, I mean, nobody wants to work and don't get paid. So at some point in time, there has to be adjustments on, work would just need to be adjusted accordingly. You know what I mean? If you were working 10 or 15 extra hours a day, 2 or 3 hours, I didn't say 10, 15, I would say. If you're working 10, 12, and 14-hour days, then there's gonna have to be some self-regulation of, I can't work that because I know I'm not getting paid. So you're gonna have to, everybody's gonna just have to tighten up, but still, and get what you can get done in the 8 hours, or 8.5 hours, or whatever it is. That's a lot to work. And I'm not saying nobody's not working, I'm not saying that. But what I am saying is, everybody sees where we're bleeding. And you just gotta fix it. And this was done out of, I think it was done out of goodwill. You know what I mean, to try to compensate people for the time that they're putting forth. You know what I mean? And I appreciate everything that everybody does.
I don't think we fathomed it would be as much.
I don't think we didn't see it just rolling up like this. You know what I mean? And I was gonna say the alternative would be, and I don't know if that could be added to like a person's retirement, like leave and stuff like that, instead of we buying it back or whatever, that's on their, a part of their retirement, those hours go towards their retirement.
Most every place that I've ever worked, you probably the same way that Phillip in Rosen County, you get X amount of hours for vacation per year. Salaried people get salary, they don't get comp time. And people that are not salaried, that make overtime, then they can get the comp time, but they must use comp time before they use vacation. And at the end of the year, if they got 275 hours of vacation time, then they have to take that 25 hours and it goes in their sick time. So in a longevity person, you able to retire a year, 2 years early,
Right.
typically on that aspect.
And for me personally, I'd rather have a body.
You have
I'd
a,
rather have a body,
or a person.
a person.
Yeah, because this is about, you're paying for 2 or 3 people. for these
Is
types
it
of-
right? And for all the things I do, it's exhausting. Okay. But again, we don't have the space for a body, that's why I have so many titles, and they are full-time positions. And, it does get exhausting, and especially when you have your most experienced people retire. What can you do?
All at once.
You're right. If I go to training, I'm working. I'm on vacation, I'm working. So I don't get a break. So it's not saying that everybody in town doesn't get a break, but we all don't. And it's a lot. It's a lot.
And I agree with Danny. And that's exactly the way most of your other government agencies do it. If you accrue comp time, you use your comp time if you go on vacation. At the end of the year, if we had over 240 hours left in our vacation because we're using comp time, anything above that rolled into your sick. I retired 3 years early because I didn't use my sick time. So, and I had so much, I didn't have time to go on vacation, so much of it rolled over. You can retire at 25 years. If you've got 5 years sick time, you retire a 30-year employee with 25 years on the job. So I mean, and it helps them on their retirement. They'll draw more because they'll get more years of service. Say if they stay 30 years and they got 3 or 4 years, then they'll get their retirement based on those other years on working 33 to 34 years. So it helps them in the long run when they maybe can't work that much anymore or are getting older. It's just a fact. So to echo what Danny's saying, that's the way a lot of your government agencies do it. I know it might be less for the employees right now, But my gracious, when they get to retire earlier, they'll be happy when they get to go home. So that'd be a good thing. I mean, I think that would be if Stephen found out he could go home 2 or 3 years early, I think he'd probably like that.
If you ain't got no Steves, you got no Steves in
I got one on the side of the road.
there.
Yeah. There you go. All right, what we got now?
Next up is street department. Pretty straightforward. Slight. I think we got budgeted, we talked about this in terms of, positions, the positions are budgeted, and for those that, in terms of salaries and wages, streetlights is 5,000 more because we spent 43,000 in the prior fiscal year, so that's, price of electricity is going up. All the other, the salaries are budgeted what they need to be at this point in time, exclusive of any overtime and stuff like that. So this is straight through all this stuff. We need to cut it back a little bit.
Insurance went up that much?
Hmm?
Insurance went up that much?
Yeah,
Jeez.
Big time.
it's over about this, over 1,000. And that's just one part. For the whole project, actually, 1,300. A little over $1,300 per person.
It's, yeah, but we're gonna meet with the insurance tomorrow.
It just called, he fell and busted his shin.
Is it true?
He doesn't injure.
You didn't fall here, did you?
No.
Oh.
No.
Well, if he's got this insurance, he should be covered.
Mhm.
Looks like my insurance.
All right, next up. We're gonna go to, recreation, no longer there, sanitation is straightforward. We have pretty much the revenues to offset the contracted costs. Next, and so then you can see the bottom line, totals there. With, expense, and, between now and year's end and the general fund, certainly we're gonna be looking at, like I shared with the board, if something comes in, anything that comes in, and this lady knows it now, but, if it's something, any invoice, that comes in, period, it's, before it hits the mayor for signature, it needs to go by me, and, it might have to pay, so that's where it's heading. Between now and year end, I'm gonna try to bet, I mean, right now, it's 583,000 out of fund house, I'm looking at, I'll try to better that, okay? It's not like that's a given. I mean, if I can come in next, or if you can see that next year, and it's 550 or something, okay, that'd be good, right? So, yeah, I'm gonna go in with that situation. Anyway, that's where we're at right now, is an honest assessment. Okay, so we certainly can do, next up would be Powell bill, which is, those monies are used for, roads, tremendous work has been done with water, sewer, and then the paving that has been done in the town. Man, it is different than what it was. That, my hat's off in terms of what has been resurfaced. A lot of the dirt roads over the past 7 years have been covered. That's a credit to folks. I mean, the council should be very proud of what we had. Remember what, Stephen? 7 years ago, we had 110 potholes, I remember.
Yeah.
All right?
We spent some money, but we have got something to show for some of them.
Now
We got something to show for it.
Now you got something to show for it. Yes, and now we got the water and sewer, is reflected in hopefully less call outs and things like that, as well with good money being spent. I mean, look, you get the water tank paying for, that normally costs, a couple $100,000. It's like,
Well, that's-
seriously.
3 years ago, we got 15.1 million in grants, and that stuff works just finally getting done. Hopefully that's gonna free these guys up where they don't have to get all this comp time coming out and working, and police department and having to come out and
Yeah.
try to put up barriers so that,
So that's on the positive, stormwater, the same thing, that's, small numbers, but those that don't affect the general fund. You flip over, then we start with water, budgeted according to what our receipts are coming in, looking at revenues is, water utilities, 3710, we got 223,566 audited. That was budgeted 241. I backed it down to 216. The water-based charge, I backed down to 157. A little bit more reasonable in terms of what's actually coming in as opposed to, I think, a little inflated because I think we're fine there still with balancing it against what the expenditures are on the water side. Overall, if we look at revenues, a small amount, yes, is being, when I say small amount, in the context of what the utility fund has, we're looking at a fund balance appropriation of 96,000 out of savings in the utility fund with revenues there from fund balance there from water. We got sewer. Yeah, we got this broken out of the plant as well as the sewer, the collection system. And, why do we have it like that? The sewer is broken into the two.
Yeah, because one is, the wastewater treatment plant.
I know, one's collection. Yeah, I
That's the
know,
way,
I know, that's the way it's always been. Are there any questions? I'm going to sewer, I think.
Do we still have all those people out there next to Pacific that owe all those thousands and thousands of dollars that was unpaid?
I do not know. Do we still have so many?
We used to have a
unpaid?
bunch that owed thousands of dollars out there. You remember that? Stephen?
Yeah.
yeah, cause then we're
I
having
do
to pay.
not, I do not know, sir. Well, we
I know we have, we do have that off, that set up that we get, every year. We recoup some of that money, but I don't know about this, on
The
this.
county supposedly,
They
when the
did.
county took over the water bill out there, they were supposed to be able to cut them off if they didn't pay sewer. So we supposed to get something from the county. I don't know if they pay the county for the sewer, then the county pays us, or they just come in here and pay us for sewer.
We need to look into that. How many?
There was a big issue with that.
Yeah, it was a lot, because there was people out there that owed thousands of dollars.
And the thing was, they came here and couldn't understand why they were paying double what in town was paying for sewer, but people in town were paying taxes on top of it. And the sewer we were charging the out of town people wasn't even enough to keep up that line. That's the reason we're having to charge more for sewer, because they didn't have the water.
So the county, this is at the county? We have to call the
Yes,
county?
out,
Water is out,
Collie County.
yeah, county.
Are we still under a board? Okay, just check. Okay, so yeah, that was because they came in here one time and asked why they got charged more, and that was the reason they weren't having to pay water services or taxes, so. What it amounted to is people in town were having to keep up those lines, more or less. That's pretty much it. So what's the last thing?
Yeah, so.
Okay.
I'd like, any questions that the council might have. You would like further research on that?
Not hearing any questions, okay. All right,
I guess a lot of us is, do you want to have another budget work session?
Well, I think we would have to have one and see all of these changes put down on
Yeah.
paper and.
But we don't.
and-
All right, I can,
we've got to have one.
huh?
We've got to have another one. Because we can't move forward and vote on a budget without getting final numbers.
Would you consider a tax increase? Would you consider a tax increase? 1 penny on the tax rate would be, basically, my calculation was would raise 6.8 cents. So a 10-cent increase would be 68,000 in recurring revenues. And that would certainly, that would help in terms of cutting into that $400,000. Because you have not raised taxes for many, many years, and the tax base has stayed the same. And if you don't do it this year, you're not gonna do it next year, because it's an election year. So, just realistic, never had a council raised in an election year. So this is the one opportunity, and you can look at it, I mean, I'm sorry, but, you can do cutbacks, and so this budget that you got before you does not include, anything for, it's basically going forward, I've outlined every dollar to you. If there's a little bit, maybe we can cut out, $50,000 to $60,000. And, get it closer to 300,000 than 400,000. But, if you want to get it closer to 200,000, I do not see, without a tax increase anywhere getting close to, balancing the budget without using savings.
Let's ask you this question. If you said that increase, what would you think would be the average impact for the citizen if that was done?
The average,
Just an average.
it depends on the value of the house.
That's what I'm saying.
I mean, I mean, I-
If you say if they have $100,000 house or $150,000 house, based on how much you're wanting to go up.
How much said 10 cents? Did you say 10 cents?
10 cents.
Oh, yeah, okay.
On $100,000
Yeah,
house,
now you're saying 10 cents, yeah.
that's $1,800.
What? Is that what?
Yeah.
It's $100.
I thought it said 6 point.
I said 1 penny, if you raise it 1 penny,
Oh, yeah.
that it will generate,
That's what I'm saying.
10 cents will be 68.
So that's what you gotta look at. That's how it's gonna affect the public. So,
And then we can do those calculations. All right, another budget work session.
and what I was gonna say, base that on our last census is what I was saying. If we looked at our last census, what we thought it would come with.
Yes,
When do y'all wanna do another one?
But he's already got something scheduled for the 17th.
all right, now,
We've got a public hearing
yeah.
coming up, but
What day is that? What day is that?
That will be
Next.
a week from tomorrow. At,
19th.
it's the 19th at 7 o'clock, and before that, we're gonna have the planning board meeting at 6 o'clock. The planning board will be dealing with the revisions to the Unified Development Ordinance, as well as any text amendments, as well as map amendments. So, and I will be conducting that
budget meetings at what time?
7 o'clock. So the planning board is getting it out of here from 6 to 7. And then you guys will start it at the budget meeting. And also the public hearing is scheduled for the truck as well, the truck and the car. That has already been advertised, the public hearing for the loan for those 2 items. So we would have 2 public hearings, the public hearing on the budget and the public hearing on,
If we took the police car out of, because we bought one to a year and did not buy one this year, then that would delete that, correct?
well, I can certainly modify the budget ordinance, okay? And by the way, we are also we're working on a budget, okay? And the budget's gonna have budget pages in and would show what you're getting for the services. You know, we're very proud of the services that we provide. So that's gonna be here like we did 7 years ago. And anyways, I'm gonna try and get a lot of that done by the public hearing part, so folks can see what's going on. But when do you want to have the budget work session? I don't know that you want to have it at the day of the public hearings. So if you want to have another budget work, and we don't have this, Mr. Clewis, you know, you brought up, you know, the police car or some of this other stuff. I mean, I can do some of the suggestions for cutting. If you like these, you know, I can do some of the adjustments in that regard. If you want to try to get it closer to 300,000 or closer to 200,000 with or without a tax increase. You know, you could even say, you know, that if you want to increase taxes to pay for that fire truck, 50,000, that's an option too.
I myself, I mean, there's been a huge amount of money spent in the last few years out of budget, past the budget, the amount of money